made with respect to responsible and sustainable growth, and certainly this is one of them. The Bay Beach development is one of them, and I can unequivocally say that it is
to no avail in a lot of ways. The council of the day decided to vote and voted accordingly. I felt a year ago the vote was a binding contract that I would work with the balance of the council in order to see the very best to be erected. Previous Councillor Noyes appeared before this evening in regards to her tender on council in regards to this issue. I've had the opportunity to speak to past councillors, and their opinion is diverse as to whether we should go forward or not go forward. People who sat on this council when the property was purchased, some councillors have quite a different understanding of why the property was purchased, how long it was going to be held, and the bottom line is the outcome. But the process has evolved. We're in receipt this evening of a letter from a lawyer that says what we did last Wednesday is not legal. Well, that's the right of the solicitor to do that, and he will deem it to whatever authority that he will have. It's not the first time that our actions have been challenged in courts and with the ombudsman, and I wait for that decision, which is their right. Again, I applaud you for your efforts. I have of the mindset that I feel that honestly and truly, this town will and the corporation will bear a cost. I would far sooner take whatever dollars that could be allocated for any legal fight and earmark it for amenities. Will there be some cost associated by the town on this development? I don't doubt there will be. Is there costs associated to any other development that we do? Absolutely. Is it something that we can all understand? I spoke in closed session about issues, and when you've been around this town and actively involved in fundraising the way I have, I've heard both sides. I've been sworn at, I've been sworn by, I've been praised by, and I've been named everything under the book. But I'm a big boy. I understand exactly what the situation is. We'll go forward, and we'll let this thing play out. But at this point in time, I support our staff. I think we have competent authorities. I think that the process has evolved and everyone has been heard. Whether you're on the so-called winning side or losing side, the only side I see is the betterment of the town of Fort Erie. And I stand on my record and I stand on my decision that I'll be supporting continuing to go forward.
Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak concerning the recommendation regarding the Crystal Beach Bay Beach project, whereby the majority of council gave the direction to proceed with this project. My comments this evening are obviously directed to the residents here in the gallery this evening, and to those, most importantly, who are viewing this council meeting at home. First, let me state for the record, and I wish to make my position clear. I am still opposed to the Crystal Beach Gateway project as it is currently proposed, and that I voted against the recommendation to move forward with this project. During the election, I stated that we needed to usher in a new era of responsibility and cooperation. My hope was that we could share a unified vision and pursue common goals. I campaigned on seeking a collaborative solution to the Bay Beach and the Crystal Beach Gateway project. A solution that would meet the needs and goals of the town of Fort Erie, and more importantly, one that takes notice and listens to the concerns of all residents, particularly those most closely affected. You know, various local blogs and papers, and even members of community, have wrongly stated that I am opposed to development. That can't be more further from the truth. I do believe development, residential, commercial, and industrial, is necessary for Fort Erie to move forward and prosper into the future. What we need is a clear, balanced, and responsible approach to development. One that has a vision, and especially one that the average taxpayer can afford. The Crystal Beach and Ridgeway Thunder Bay neighborhood plans articulate this balanced approach to development. Why are we deviating from this? In concert with this balanced approach to development is the need for a clear and precise waterfront strategy. One that spells out specifically how we intend to protect our most valuable resource. It's very interesting to note that when a resident searches for waterfront strategy on the town's website, it directs them to the Crystal Beach Gateway Project and all its details. Is this our waterfront strategy? If this is the case, allowing the Crystal Beach Gateway Project to form our waterfront strategy, in my view, is wrong. This is putting the cart before the horse and is a backward approach. I would challenge town staff to bring forward a report that articulates specifically what Fort Erie's waterfront strategy is, and to do so at our next regular council meeting. The Crystal Beach Gateway Project will have tax implications for all residents. All residents are entitled to know the costs associated with this project from its inception through to its completion and then beyond. It is critical that as residents, you know explicitly what this means to you. Therefore, I will be bringing forward under a notice of motion this evening, which will give direction to the CAO to prepare a report on this very subject. Specifically, what the costs have been, including legal to date, what they are foreseen will be the costs moving forward with the completion of the project, including all community amenities. Additionally, I will be directing the CAO to bring forward a projected 5-year forecast of all carrying costs that the taxpayer will be responsible for upon the completion of this project. You have a right to know what moving forward with this decision means for you and the associated costs you will be facing as a taxpayer in the future. It has been documented this past Wednesday, Council went into closed session for a comparative legal analysis in respect to implications and to seek out options should this Council wish to take a different direction with the Crystal Beach Gateway Project. A motion put forward last Monday to seek out independent legal counsel for this process was disregarded, citing our town solicitor was more than capable to give us the answers we sought. So I ask you this: how is it that this council can be provided with an impartial legal opinion, unbiased analysis, and options given the working relationship the town has had with the Molineros over this period? The answer to this seems quite simple, and I don't believe they can. Therefore, the motivation behind the initial motion for independent Canadian legal counsel was the most judicious solution when it was brought forward. We are here as councillors to make informed decisions on your behalf, and I, nor do my fellow councillors, I believe, take that responsibility lightly. Let me close by saying to all residents that for those of us that administer public dollars, we will be held accountable. We need to spend your dollars wisely, formulate change where bad decisions have been made, and to reform our behaviors. We need to do the town's business in the light of day with openness and, of course, transparency. Only then will we be able to restore the necessary trust between the residents of Fort Erie and their elected officials. This is a new era of responsibility. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time articulating my position on Bay Beach. I think it's quite clearly stated in the past, and not only since I've been on council, but many years prior to that. This type of development does not meet with my vision of what I would see for our waterfront. The one element that was always missing to me was a comprehensive waterfront plan. To say that anybody would be against development, I think, would be wrong. My vision would be to have a plan that would include development, but not on the beach, and similar types of developments that we could generate revenue, as was stated, that it's so desperately needed, but not there. That is my biggest concern. Having said that, I did vote on Wednesday in open session to go forward with the project. The rationale behind my decision was that I was presented, as were all other councillors, with information that was given to us, and I accepted in good faith. What was explained in that information was action, reaction. If you do this, this may happen. So I was also elected to make sure that we were fiscally responsible and spent our tax dollars in the wisest way. I'm not a gambler. I'm not going to look down the barrel and face the ramifications and repercussions of not supporting this contract that we had entered into. Last December, I went to Vegas to run a marathon. I put 2 pennies in the slots, won $7, and quit. I wasn't going to risk my $7. Maybe I'm not a risk taker, maybe I'm not a visionary, but I need to be practical. I need to make sure that I protect the taxpayers, not only in Ward 5, but also in Ward 6, Stephenville and Black Creek. That's the rationale behind my decision. I did not make that vote without a great deal of heartache, a great deal of thought, and a great deal of self-doubt as to if I was doing the right thing. However, this is where we are. This is the position we're in today, and I just hope that we can all look at this and move forward and make the best of what we have to date. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Martin, and I too am thankful for the opportunity to explain our decision from Wednesday night, because when we came out of closed session on Wednesday night at 11 o'clock, we were looking at empty seats. There was nobody here. So, it's no secret that I've been opposed to this development from the beginning, and I've stated so publicly throughout last year's election campaign. Last Monday, I was in favor of the motion regarding council receiving outside legal advice on the options available to us and any consequences of these options. I felt that an independent third-party solicitor would be able to give me unbiased advice so that I could then make an informed decision on whether to continue to oppose the project. That motion was ultimately withdrawn due to some browbeating and eventually a lack of support. We then settled on receiving this advice from our town solicitor at a closed session meeting on Wednesday evening following our budget meeting. At this closed session meeting, we were presented with a report from the town solicitor that outlined some options and the risks associated with these options. We had a half hour or so to read this report and another half hour or so to ask questions. I didn't feel that we'd had enough time to absorb all of the info we were presented with, and I wanted to take the report home to read it further prior to making a decision at tonight's meeting. We were told we could not take the report home and that we had to surrender it back to staff before leaving the room. And then we were forced into making a decision, even though the motion said we were going into closed session to get a legal opinion on our options with no mention of the need to come to a consensus that evening. I had concerns going into the meeting about being able to receive unbiased information, as our solicitor has told us many times that she doesn't work for us, she works for the corporation, which is correct. The corporation's position on the Bay Beach issue is to move ahead with the project. So how can our solicitor give unbiased advice to members of council who are in opposition to the corporation's stance on this issue?